Hi everyone. We just wanted to thank you all for joining. We're going to give people a few more minutes to join. We're right at the hour. We're at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So going to give people about 5 minutes and then we will get started. Okay everyone, we are going to get started. I want to start off by introducing ourselves and thanking you all for joining. It's great that we get so many people together in this online space today. So my name is Allison McLaughlin. I am a strategic account manager here with Javelin Technologies, focused on the data management side of our business. So primarily PLM and what we're going to talk about today, Aras PLM. So I've been with Javelin for just over 4 years now, and really excited to be here today to share some of this information with you.
Thanks, Dawson. I'm Mario Viteri. I've been with Javelin for a number of years, seven years, and I've been in the PLM or data management market, I hate to say it, but about mid-80s. So we've been around for quite a bit.
Great. So we are going to get through this today. We're hoping not to take the full hour, but we do encourage questions. So throughout the presentation, we'd love for you guys to put some questions into the question panel, and we'll answer those as we go, and try to get through all of those as we go through. So just a quick agenda. We're going to do a high-level overview of Aras PLM. We're going to talk a little bit about the industry focus, so the industries that Aras focuses on and has been focusing on, and some of the reasons why. Features and benefits of the solution. We're going to talk a little bit about some customer success stories with some specific solutions within Aras PLM. And then we'll try and help differentiate the Aras PLM solution and SolidWorks PDM for those of you that might be looking for a PDM solution or already have one in-house. We're going to leave the end to answer some questions, but we'll also answer some questions throughout, so please feel free to ask any questions as we go along. So really quick snapshot of Aras. They're a global organization. They've been around for just under 20 years now. They have become the leaders in the PLM industry, and you're probably used to hearing words or names like Teamcenter, Windchill, Innovia, and really Aras has made a name for itself in the last couple of years, I'd say, with big names, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the big name customers that they've got under their wing. So in the last couple of years, they really have become an industry leader and taken over in some of those spaces. They are 100% focused on PLM solutions, so they don't manufacture any other products, and they're not the OEM of any other solution, and they are focused solely on the PLM space, and their subscription-based pricing. I'm not sure if there's anything that you want to add, Mario, to that?
No, we can talk a little bit about the pricing a little later on as well.
Fantastic. So really quickly, what you can see on the left-hand side of the screen here is a snapshot of what the Aras Innovator looks like, and that's what their solution is called, is Innovator. It's business-ready solution, item-based and process-oriented. It's hosted, it's web-based, it's Microsoft platform, highly scalable and secure, and it's got a familiar look and feel. The implementation of this solution, because it is so intuitive, is not nearly as long as what you'd see with typical legacy PLM systems. It's full-featured PLM. The nice thing about Aras is that it is extremely scalable. So a lot of companies that are looking for, let's say, a PDM solution, it has those capabilities built in, and they can start there and grow and extend from that with multiple solutions added on.
Right. One of the things that I want to add here is we have a number of customers that really came from other PLM systems where they spent a lot of time and money implementing them and customizing them to fit their organization, only for technology to kind of go past them, if it's operating systems or databases or whatever. And one of the strengths that you get with Aras is that all of your implementation that you do is carried forward with the subscription. Mm-hmm. All your implementation is handled for you as part of your subscription, so you never have to wait because you don't have the time or the manpower to go ahead and move all your implementations to the next release. It's all done for you, and that's a super strength. And probably over 60% of the customers that we get is just because it costs so much to move to the next release of a standard PLM system.
So big differentiator there for sure. So typically the industry focus for PLM systems, or some of the industries that have PLM systems already, are the aerospace, automotive, and defense. And Aras, it's similar with Aras, it is a focus for them on these industries. And that is because they have regulations that they have to abide by for designing their specific products. And so it is a core focus, but Aras also has a number of customers, and we'll get to that, under their wing that are outside of that industry. So, I mean, we were at a great conference that Aras hosts, and there's a company that hosts, or that holds all of their recipes and manages all of their recipes within Aras.
There's also a beer maker. One of the beer makers manages all the recipes for making beer in Aras. It's quite an interesting application what they've done.
So on this slide here, you'll see a little bit what we talked about earlier, how Aras has made a name for themselves in the last couple of years with companies like General Motors. So General Motors just purchased 50,000 licenses of Aras, and that's a game changer for a lot of their suppliers, tier 1, tier 2 suppliers that are also using one of their legacy PLM systems, and now there may be a change in the game.
Right. One of the other things to note is that if you go to the website to Aras, you can download what's called an open user, which will allow you to use basic Aras. And a company up there is General Electric, and that's kind of the way they started. They started by using just the free version of Aras and got to know it, understand it, felt comfortable with it, and they have moved to the full Aras suite. And they like to say, if you hear an airplane flying by you or over top of you, it's not a GE engine. So they do all their work in Aras, and it's quite a neat story. And I think they got about 15 or 1,600 users on the system.
Great. So when we speak with some of our customers, and I'm sure that some of you here today are very familiar with some of these common practices, we hear that things are managed not necessarily in the most effective way. So through Excel spreadsheets, an honor system where whoever puts the last file on the network drive has the say in what revision or release it is. Design review meetings look a little bit like the picture on the top right-hand corner, trying to find information, all of the different people that are involved, whether it's inside your organization or external. Finding that information and tracking it down is not always the easiest thing, and then trying to figure out where things are at in the project becomes an even harder task. Also, the guy on the left-hand side here and those binders behind him is also probably a pretty typical scenario of what we see with our customers. There's binders and all kinds of paper documentation that needs to be walked around to be signed, and those binders are like Bibles in some of the organizations that we work with. So when we see these common practices, we quickly realize, and our customers understand, that the status quo is error-prone and inefficient and limits growth. So it's very difficult, like we said, to find information, to keep track of it, to keep it secure, and that's often a challenge for our customers. Traditional PLM systems, like some of the ones we've mentioned so far, will come in and tell you that if you have a system in place that manages something pretty well, that you'll have to rip it out and replace it, and that it's not going to do, that this system in its entirety will do, everything for you. That can be disruptive and pretty risky to take your investments that you've already, you've already trained on and everybody's used to using, and pull those out and replace them can be expensive and very time consuming. And so what's really nice and what sets Aras apart from the rest is they keep what works. It allows you to leverage the investments that you've made, and we'll talk a little bit about how that works with PDM as well. So if you've, let's say, made an investment in PDM Professional with SolidWorks, and you have a team of users that are using it, and you have workflows that work for your organization, what's nice is that Aras layers on top of that. So it keeps what works and also gets the results that you're looking for. So another story about GM and kind of where they started, they use a legacy system, Team Center, and it really wasn't doing the job that they needed to from a change management perspective, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But what GM did was rather than ripping out Team Center and replacing it completely, they looked at Aras to fill the gap or the void that it didn't have. So they layered Aras on top and now use two systems, saving what they've already implemented and all the time that's already been put into that other system.
Right. We see this a lot too with a lot of CAD systems.
Yep.
So a lot of people spend a lot of time and money and effort on a PDM system or a CAD system, and Aras will sit on top of it. There's connectors and integration work, so you don't waste that money, and it's a much better ROI for you.
Absolutely. So we want to differentiate and help you understand some of the differences between a PDM system and a PLM system, specifically Aras. So when you talk about these three things, so product knowledge reuse, engineering change, collaborative engineering, you're really talking about a PDM system. We have customers come to us all the time and say, we're looking to collaborate, we want, a lot of our customers come and say they want the same design, but, so there's some alterations, and you want to be able to use and reuse that information throughout your organization. And so when we talk about these three things, we're talking about what Aras classifies it as the science of engineering. So all of your CAD data managed in one secure place, being able to collaborate and perhaps trigger an engineering change with a workflow. When you talk about Aras, you're getting into the enterprise business systems, or as Aras classifies it, as the business of engineering. So you're looking at outside of engineering, how do you manage and integrate all of the other divisions and people within your organization to connect them to what your final product is going to be. So I'm going to high level some of these: engineering BOM and item management, supplier management, so your approved vendors, approved manufacturers, enterprise change management. We'll talk more in depth on and give you an example of some customers that have used enterprise change management to really change their process. And then we get into things like project management. That's a demand in a lot of organizations, just being able to understand where projects are at and how that's connected to the actual CAD data. So in Aras, you're able to connect all that information and use it throughout. Configuration management, and maybe you want to say a few things on configuration management here, Mayor.
We were gonna do some a little bit of a story on some configuration management, but Aras does come with a number of configuration management tools built into the product, so you can start with a simple ECO or ECN and work your way all the way up to a full-blown CM2 certified CM tool. So all those workflows are there, they're part of the system, and if you have to tweak them a little bit, you can, but you don't have to go through a long, lengthy implementation just to meet some kind of configuration management standards.
Yep. You can even do your quality planning and standards compliance and manage it connected to your CAD data, so your PFMEA, your DFMEA, a lot of that can be managed within the Aras system as well. We do have a question here if you want to stop for a second, Mario. Okay. Asking about CAD connectors. Are there different CAD connectors developed or managed by Aras or third-party companies?
So that's a multi-answer, but yes, Aras does supply a couple of CAD connectors, one for Vault, another one for PDM out of Aras, but then they don't like to focus on trying to be the CAD connector company, so they work with a number of partners, and we can point to areas in the web if you want to talk about that, but depending on what you have, if you have Pro-E, say for example, or you have some kind of electrical or electronic system that you want to integrate with, we have the partners and you buy the connector with the Aras product. So yes, they build their own, but we have a number of partners that allow us to sell and implement other connectors.
Great. So thanks so much for the question. So just moving on, again, really high level, manufacturing process planning. A lot of companies focus really heavily on the front end and how the design is done and how to capture that data. But a really important piece is how you get your product out the door and at the quality and how quickly you get it out the door. So there's a lot of solutions within Aras under the MPP tool that allow you to manage that better. Application lifecycle management, maintenance and asset lifecycle management. Requirements management. So something as simple as understanding what your customer requirements are for their project and how to track those and make sure that they're met throughout the project, right from concept all the way through to service. Visual collaboration is really neat. So for those of you that have PDM, you might know it to have a viewer and be able to access data, even CAD data, if you don't have a CAD tool. What visual collaboration allows you to do within Aras is visualize the CAD data and any other data in other formats that is being worked on throughout a project and collaborate with team members to say, hey, this needs change, this needs to be added, and you have that live collaboration right within the Aras tool set. So it's a really neat tool and big differentiator for sure.
Before you go on, the other thing with the visual collaboration is they call it secure social. So it works within Aras, and the thing that's kind of nice about it is it uses all the security model within Aras. So if I'm a manager and I need to comment on a widget or a part or some kind of documentation, I can make sure that only the people that I want to see that comment on sees it. And it also manages it within Aras. You can use it as a full audit trail, and you can take snapshots of it. And what's nice about it is it has over 400 different formats. So if you don't have a CAD type of system on your system,
floor, yeah,
you'll still be able to see the CAD drawing and be able to make changes to it, or at least redline it so someone else can see it. So that's a great advantage. And requirements, we talk about requirements management. It also, we've been certified or accredited to do the same thing as Doors will do for you, which is really nice. And what helps with the requirements management is you can take that part again and go all the way from the part and work your way all the way back through what Allison says, the digital thread, work your way all the way back to the requirement, and you can see all the changes that happen through that requirement all the way to the final part.
So some really great solutions built into the Aras platform, and again, allowing you to be scalable. Start with perhaps one area and grow from there, or you know, start with a much bigger picture. So we wanted to tell some customer success stories. We've had you know, a lot of customers work with the Aras solution in a lot of different ways, and one of the and we wanted to highlight some of these in particular. So when we work with a lot of our customers, enterprise change management or a formal change management process is a lot of times not in place because you know, either there are links in the process that are missing, they don't have anything that's formal. It's like, okay, well, when a change happens, I call Bob, and Bob knows that there's got to be a change, and then someone has to revise the drawing, and a lot of that can create a lot of risk. And so we had a really great story from one of our customers in the past with who
on configuration management. So can't tell you the name of it, but it was working for the Department of National Defense, and they had to do testing how they can intercept missiles. And the configuration management or the change management became very time-consuming to the point where they basically stopped doing it just so that they could get different tests out. And finally, when they went to show it, it worked. It knocked something out of the sky, which was great. And they said, great, that's what we want. And when they went back to the office, they realized that they didn't have all the proper configuration management to rebuild that. So it was quite a scramble for them, again, to get something done. So configuration management is a common problem with some of these companies, but Aras brings that down to the simplest mode, and it's easy and quick to do configuration management with this system.
So really quickly, going back, and I do apologize because we did skip over the bubble that said ERP integration, just getting lost in our stories there. So Aras does have connectors for ERP integration, and
right. So we do have a number of partners that do integration connectors to different ERP systems, but most ERP systems take about a week to do the implementation or customization between the two. Now, that's not a really tight integration. If you want to do that, we usually do an a SAO and do a ROM for you. But if you, say, select a part and you save it and you want the system to go to the ERP system and find out the vendor where you're going to get it and how much it's going to cost, so you can do some cost assessment analysis, and we'll talk a little bit about that. That usually takes about a week effort to do that.
Yeah. So SAP is also, so we do have a...
They have some connectors for SAP.
Yeah, so that was just a question that came up. So we didn't want to go through these word for word. We just wanted to show you some of the common challenges that our customers face in the enterprise change management space. Some of the features of the solution, so like Mario talked about, being able to have a documented process where people get notified and are aware of the change and how that affects things downstream and upstream. So when you have a part that's used in multiple designs and that part gets changed, how is that going to affect the rest of your designs or the rest of your products? And so Aras does a really nice job of providing that effectivity report and analysis, as well as the automated impact analysis down the road. So it's a great system. We've had a lot of success again on the enterprise change management side, and I think that that's one of the biggest features within Aras that's been commonly used.
Right, and the enterprise change management takes into account everything. A lot of times we'll go into companies and they really kind of focus on the CAD part of it, but the full enterprise change management takes account for everything that's coming into the system, not just CAD.
And really quickly, again, going back to GM, this is where GM had a gap in their process in using Teamcenter, and so they came in and evaluated Aras with the free open source version and tested and came up with a solution for their enterprise change management.
I think that story is, there's quite a lot to that story. We've heard different versions of it. It's pretty interesting, and we've gone to ACE, which is their users group, and they've told us the story, but there's a number of different versions. It's a pretty neat story to hear about it from GM.
So moving into project management, this is oftentimes, and I refer back to that picture of the design review meeting, so trying to understand where your projects are at is oftentimes a tough one to tackle for a lot of our customers. They're usually looking at systems that are not integrated to their actual CAD design. So they're looking outside of, so Microsoft Project, for example, is one that we see a lot of people using. But it doesn't tie in all of the actual design process and then your change management. It doesn't take that into account. So basically at Aras, where Aras comes in, it uses that Microsoft Project platform for their project management solution.
So one of the things that happened, and this was a number of years ago, to meet certain type of standards like CM2, they have a number of standards that a PLM system has to have, and one of the things that came very apparent was project management, and Aras made sure that they integrated a project management system directly into Aras. It's based on the Microsoft project. What's nice about it, and this is the same with your requirements, is you can go right to the final part or the end item within a project and work it all the way back up, and it's all within Aras. And again, this integrates to your other project management tools that you may have in-house. Again, we're not ripping out anything, it'll just migrate to those other tools.
So we had a customer that was looking for an integrated tool that allowed them to manage their projects for design review meetings specifically, and making sure that once they received a RFQ or won a project bid for a customer, that they were able to look at the requirements, assign those requirements to the next stage in their process, which is, let's say, design, and in that design assign tasks to specific individuals to complete and meet these requirements. And so through a stage gate process that again is an out-of-the-box process that Aras provides that can be customized to meet your own process and workflow, they were able to assign tasks, understand the percentage of completeness of the project, what things were falling behind and what things were ahead of schedule, and then get a fair understanding of the timeline of the project and whether they were going to hit the targets or not. And so able to manage all of that through Aras. The other thing that they wanted to do is be able to connect deliverables. So make sure that once we get to a certain stage in this project that we have a deliverable. Maybe it's a drawing, maybe it's a design, maybe it's an ECO, and once that happens, then they can move on to the next stage. They had a lot of success with running that through their system.
Right, and what's nice is it's all tied in together. So the workflows are managed through Aras, so you have a particular version of a workflow that you have to do, and the same thing with your templates that you use for your project management. You can manage all those, and as a project manager, you can use a desktop to show you, and you can just see it in the background a little bit, what's on time, what's not. You can query them, you can find out who's working on a particular task and where they are in a project, and you can start to modify these as you need to.
So one of the other things that we talked about, a visual collaboration, can be great within this project management tool as well as a part of it, to be able to see live within the Aras tool a view of where the project is at specifically, and then be able to collaborate with your team and move things on to the next stage of the project. Keeps people accountable. It allows you to keep things organized and managed, and keep track of where your projects are at.
I have another question here. So they just wanted to know if Aras is in-house hosted or is it cloud. With Aras, you can do both. We have a number of our customers that do everything in-house. They just want to keep their data in-house, so they can do it that way. Aras allows you to have multiple servers, multiple vaults. So we have customers that have an office, say, in Toronto, one in Los Angeles, one in Japan, and they can all work on the same database, and they have replicated vaults. And we do have some customers that use the cloud, and we can get you that information, but they use the cloud. They put everything in the cloud, and they just pay through the cloud to get to their Aras.
Okay, great. So moving on, and thank you guys for the questions throughout. We encourage them. Keep on writing your questions in. We'll answer them as we go. So wanted to focus on this one. This was a newer module of Aras, but actually has had a ton of success. So manufacturing process planning and MBOM, so your manufacturing bill of material, is a really critical piece that a lot of companies are looking to integrate and solve when it comes to, you know, the front-end engineering BOM and the manufacturing BOM, how to compare them, how to organize them. It's become a really big focus for a lot of our customers. And what we see is that disconnected systems can create a lot of problems downstream with manufacturing. So for example, if you have multiple plants, we had a customer who had multiple plants where they manufactured different product lines, and they did not have an effective way to manage the process, the manufacturing bill of materials, what parts were required in each manufacturing plant. And so when moving their product line from one plant to another, it was a lot of chaos. They were back for, I think they were down for about 2 months, if I remember correctly, and we're not expecting that to try and reorganize and rearrange. So they looked at Aras to be able to more effectively manage their manufacturing process. And I think in Aras you can manage not only the process, but the skilled required for machining, for example.
So you can manage all the different skills. So if someone has to do something, they may have to be certified at a certain level to be able to use that piece of machinery. The other thing that you can do with MPP, and I know Allison loves this product because it's quite fun to see it and how it works, but the other thing that you can do is you can have phantom parts. So if you have, you know, one part that has to attach to another part and it's made up of a bunch of smaller parts, you can build that part, and it's all done electronically on the system so that you can then deliver that to your shop floor. It's a really neat application to see, and it's I know a lot of people like looking at it because it's kind of fun. You can see all the way all this works. So.
So, I mean, being able to do a reconciliation as well, so look at your EBOM and your MBOM comparison, be able to understand how many parts are used at each location, it's again, really, really neat. And not something that a lot of customers are used to having access to, so I think once they have it, it's, you know, you can't go back. So, again, it's one of the biggest pieces recently that within the Aras tool that's been getting the most hype, and one of the things that we notice with our customers being so focused on both the engineering and the manufacturing side with some of our solutions, it's definitely something that we've seen huge improvement for our customers.
Right. We got another question, and it kind of fits at the right time. They just want to know how hard it is to make some of these changes, how hard it is to make, say, a change to an ECN or an ECO. Once you get training, it's very easy to make changes to those. So as a manager or a supervisor or IT, you just have to have the right permissions. You check out an ECO, make the changes to it. You can send it through its own workflow to make sure all the changes to that ECO has been approved. And it can be anything within Aras. You can make a change to it. It gets approved. You put it back in. So now you're using a new ECO, and you can go back 6 months, 8 months, and find out what your ECOs look like that. But to make those changes, it's a 3-day or a 5-day training course, and you're able to do that. You don't have to have special permissions as far as any kind of programming tools or anything like that.
Yeah, and all of the training with Aras with subscription, you can send people, and it's
right. That's
an
excellent point. So not only with your subscription do you get all your upgrades. So every time you make all these changes, you're going to get these upgrades, and all these changes come with you. But if you send your people to Aras headquarters, and they have a number of different sites, all your training comes for free. So you can send people there, as many people as you want, as many times as you want. Like me, I probably have to go 3 or 4 times, but it's all free. As a customer, you can send as many people as you want to all these training courses.
So I want to kind of close it off with this idea of a digital thread. And so we talked a little bit about PDM, managing the front end of this, so connecting your concept, your design, your engineering, and there's some things within PDM that can help automate some transitions to procurement, and maybe give sales some access to some more data. But really what we wanted to help you guys understand, and what we help our customers understand, is when you try to connect these systems in their entirety. So taking that step outside of engineering and focusing on enterprise business systems, so that you have this digital thread, this digital design process that takes you through from concept all the way through to service and warranty, end of life even. Aras Innovator is the solution that allows you to do that and manage that effectively.
The thing that's nice is you don't have to do that in one big step.
Yeah.
You can say, here's where we are today, where can we start, here's our real problem, take that problem, we help you find that problem, fix that problem, and then you can start to grow to the enterprise. It's very easy to do that. We really want to see you flourish with the product.
Mm-hmm. So as a next step, what we would encourage you guys to do, if there's something here that we talked about today that interests you, that you want to learn more about, typically what we like to do is meet with you at your site and understand what your requirements are, from a PLM system standpoint, what some of the gaps might be, and what your objectives are as an organization, and help you to find where Aras PLM might be a fit. So I think that is all that we have for today. I don't see any more questions at this point, but I'll give you guys a minute or two. If there's any questions out there, we're going to open up the floor and see if any more questions come through, and then I think we will end our broadcast for today.
I've got one, and it was, how is the Aras product sold? So the Aras product, there's 2 real ways. One is you can use the open user that you can download, you get a key, and then we can help you kind of get it running and working that way. The other way is by tiers. So you buy a tier 50 or a tier 100, depending on how many you need. You can go up to, we have customers that are in the 50,000, but you can buy the tiers, and that tier subscription gets you all the software, all the training, all your upgrades, all your supports, and any kind of patch fixes. So that's how they sell. And if you want to get hold of Allison, she can talk to you about pricing as well.
So one of the other things we do want to make mention on really quickly here, just giving you guys an opportunity, if you have any other questions, feel free to type them in now. we encourage you to go to the Aras website. Aras also is set apart from a lot of the other providers out there because they make absolutely everything public. And so you'll find case studies, you'll find white papers, and all kinds of different blog posts and information that Aras just puts out there. So you can see all of the modules, the ones we went through today, and you can see the other ones that we didn't go into detail on. You can narrow down and see maybe what's important to you guys out there and find where there might be a fit with Aras. They also allow you to download the open source version right from their website.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. Aras, for a while there, just really encouraged references from customers, and a lot of customers don't want to be bugged with references, so they have put those all on the website. So you can go look for a particular customer, any of the customers that was on the list. They should be in the Aras website. You just click on them and you can read what their problem was, maybe what system they were using before, if it was a system, and then how we were able to fix the problem and how they're using Aras. And then if you really want to talk to those people that may be in the same industry, you can give us a call and Allison can set up some kind of reference call and you can talk to them.
Can effectivity dates for ECOs be manipulated via alternate dates post-release?
Oh, no.
For ECOs be manipulated via alternate dates post-release.
We'll have to get back to you. I know you can change those, but once something's released, I'm not sure how much you can really change. We'll get back to you on that. Yeah. Allison's got your question. That's an excellent question. I'm going to say you can make a change to it, but I don't know, and I have a funny feeling you may not be able to, because to meet certain standards, once something's released, it could be a battery. So once everything's released, maybe you need to know the effectivity of the battery and when they're going to run out. So we'll get back to you on that. Excellent question.
So there's another question here for what file format is used for the visualization. So for visual collaboration, it views over 450, or I think it's even higher than that, file types. Yeah. So it's actually built into the Aras tool, so it's not like an output of a file format. It's a viewer similar to e-drawings, if you've used e-drawings before. Allows you to manipulate, measure, markup, balloon, and it gives you like an actual 3D visualization if you're using a CAD model, or, I mean, again, it can view.
Yeah, but it has some kind of format, but we don't get to it. It's, if you click on a drawing and it's a Pro E drawing, you click on it, you view it, and you really, as a user, you don't see what it converts it to view it.
But you do not need a Pro E, like a
no, you don't need a viewer or Pro E
license,
or Creo license.
Yeah. Like that. So I hope that answered the question. If not, we can get back to you as well with a specific. But that, again, it doesn't really matter what file type it comes in. You can view the file for over 450. I think it's even higher than that. Yeah. Like I said, file formats.
There's also a couple. There's also a couple of viewers that you can get that integrate to Aras if you have very, very large assemblies. And we looked at one where they took the shop floor of a Boeing factory with like 8 planes in there, and it was a massive file and was able to load in seconds, not minutes or half hour or something like that. So if there is some real interest in different types of viewers, we do have those.
Great. Okay, so if any more questions come in after this, we will make sure that we get back to you. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We appreciate you spending the time, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks very much. Oh, season's greetings.